Thank you. I'm Deborah Tobola. I'm the founding artistic director of Poetic Justice Project, and you are a wonderful audience. Thank you. And we have had so much support for this production, and a few of our sponsors are in the audience tonight. The Catholic Church of the Beatitudes, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Frank and Mary Lou LaBarge, thank you, Mary Lou. And thank you to Live Oak for this beautiful, beautiful venue. And also to the Santa Barbara Friend Meeting and the Alternatives to Violence Project workshops. Thank you. And my partner is going to get mad at me if I don't remind you that we have these audience response forms out on the table if you don't already have one. And it's really helpful to us if you could take a few minutes and fill them out. It helps us gauge our impact with audiences, and also when I write grants, I love to quote our very articulate audience members and put some comments on the website. So, we're going to start by introducing ourselves, and I already did, but Chris, I'm going to hand this to you.
Hi, I'm Chris Orr. This is my first experience with the Poetic Justice Project. Gale asked me to come help and do some organizational things, and I love Gale, and I really believe in what this program is and what it does, and so I was happy to do it, and it's been a hell of a ride so far.
So I'm Gale McNeeley. I've collaborated with these wonderful people on the show. My background is many things. Acting is one of them. People may not know is I worked in aid services for 10 years. And that grounded me. If actors are not often grounded. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. And so I think in the same way I grounded, like these actors did, through real life, life and death actually. And we're dealing with the same things today, so it's great to be here, and thank you for welcoming us.
My name is Leonard Flippen. I am formerly incarcerated individual. I've been with the Poetic Justice Project from the very beginning of its existence outside of the walls. I'm currently now a drug and alcohol counselor for men and women returning from prison, so I haven't gone that far from the yard. And I'm really glad to be here. This building feels like home almost. It's a good feeling. So it's pleased to be here.
My name is Nick Homick, and I warned some of you that you were a part of this production, that we would make eye contact, that we appreciate it when it's returned, and that we'd hope that you would laugh. And thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience.
My name is Jorge Manly Gil, and it's great to be here with so much love in the audience. I know a lot of you have been supporting us for a while, and it's just great to be able to present this to you. And this is something very new for us, and it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of fun. So hope you enjoyed it as well.
My name is Janet Guest, and it's my first time with these guys. And I think I'm really blessed to be with you, because they have so much talent and I've learned so much in this process. And from the audience too. And different audiences, when their feedback comes, there's always an opportunity. And thank you.
My name is Caroline Taylor-Hitch. I have been working with these guys for a couple of years now. I'm 24 years old, and these guys that I've worked with, over the last couple of years, they're literally the village that raised me. Them and Deborah and everybody else. I will forever be grateful to these group of people, and I'm really grateful for you guys too. You're a great audience, and it was an honor to be able to perform for you guys.
So I guess we're waiting for questions from you now.
Wait a minute, Marty asked me to just briefly tell you how Poetic Justice Project was born. So I worked in the prison teaching creative writing and then running a program called Arts and Corrections for more than 12 years. And our program in prison accidentally turned into a theater program because I could involve inmates of all artistic disciplines, the writers, the actors, musicians, singers, set designers, artists. And so it would be this grand collaboration that would cut through all the divisions of race and economic status and geography, which is very important. Are you from the north or the south? Anyway, it was wonderfully empowering for the inmates, and I wanted to send them to the program on the other side when they paroled, but there wasn't any. So after praying for a long time, I left right as the economy was melting down. I retired from corrections to begin Poetic Justice Project, and we will enter our 6th year next month, and I can hardly believe it. And I have to thank you and people like you that we are still here doing this. We've had 87 actors in 11 productions. This is our 11th. 2 have returned to prison. So our recidivism rate is under 3%. One of the ones who returned to prison just got out about a month ago, and he called me fairly soon after his release, and Leonard and I are going to go see him pretty soon. Okay, so questions, comments?
I guess this is sort of a follow-up to what you just said. When somebody is released from the jail or prison, how do they find you?
We regularly go to, it's called a PACT meeting. It's once a month in Santa Maria. Parole and community team meeting. So people paroling meet with providers that have different things that they offer, like tattoo removal, housing, 12-step substance abuse counseling. I think I first met you there, Leonard, as an event. So we go there. It's word of mouth too, so people refer their friends. Most of our actors are in the 12-step community, so they share at 12-step meetings. And we have a good relationship with both parole and probation. So they sometimes send people to us.
Okay. But if I personally, I happen to be a chaplain at the jail here, and I'm always looking for, they ask me, where can they get support? And so I just have them, is there a number or a reference that I can?
Yes, in the program is our website,
Okay.
and on the website is contact info.
Okay, thank you.
So the only thing, we have, one of our obstacles is transportation. So that would be something we would need to work out. Like, could they take the bus? Because we work out of Santa Maria. Yes.
Would Leonard talk about prison life and the way you've talked before about statistics?
You have to hold that.
Leonard?
Yes.
Would you talk about prison life and statistics and that kind of thing, the way you've
Yes.
spoken before?
Okay, so what she wants me to do is kind of give you a perspective. And to really kind of break it down is that we're in a crisis in this country when it comes to not just incarceration, but of course you've heard about the murders and the violence that's going on. And the big deal is this has all happened to American citizens. Right now we currently incarcerate, I think it's 2.5 million. Since percentage-wise, we currently incarcerate more people per capita than any society has ever done so in the history of mankind. So it's a horrible situation. A high percentage of them are people of color. Even higher percentage of them are people of their non-violent crimes. The other side of it is it's become a hugely profitable economic situation. So it's no longer a prison complex, it's a prison industrial complex that happens to be tied to the military industrial complex. 80% of all of our military stuff is being made in federal prisons. So we have a real serious problem. The tragedy is that it's turned into a caste system. Most people that go to prison never successfully reintegrate back into society. And that's where the real problem happens, because it becomes generational. You know, I read an article, it's called From the Cradle to Prison, where a child born in a certain economic system is guaranteed to end up in prison. They just have to prepare a bed for them. So what we do at Poetic Justice Projects is we try to marry those two worlds. We have society and then we have the prison. And the reason why we do this is because we're not trying to take people from prison and plop them into society. And we don't want to take you and plop you into prison, but what we do want to do is we want both of us to be able to meet into the middle and create a system where we all can coexist together. Because the reality of it is that there is no us or them, there's only we. And if we can overcome this us and them mentality, we can begin to start to realize that that's where the problem exists. You know, and I hope that this show helped you to see that, you know, the same person in prison is just another human being out here. Is that good?
Yes, thank you.
One thing that most people don't know is that thousands of women enter prison pregnant. When they deliver their baby in prison, their baby is taken from them and they never see it again.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the scenarios that you presented are too true. Each one of those, even though, you know, we were all laughing, that is part of the tragedy, is getting the services. I've been chaplain in jail and taken AA meetings to jail and heard the stories first time, and I'm a provider on the outside, so I know you didn't make any of that up. Yeah. Thank you for presenting it.
And I want to thank you for allowing us to present it. The other side of it is that this thing that we do is hugely therapeutic for men and women that are coming out of institutions. Because when we come out of institutions, we feel like we're one of them. And it's very difficult to figure out how to become one of us. And what happens is when you allow us to come into your lives and tell our stories, you allow us to connect with you, and it's extremely healing and therapeutic for us. And it goes kind of both ways. And I hope that I was able to show you a side of the world that you didn't even know that existed. Because it's really, to me, it's called cultural competence. We just need to get to know each other. So.
Thank you very much for this performance tonight. I saw the play at the First Congregation Church, was it last year? And I was wondering, is this a group that you stay in connection with each other, and then when you have a performance, certain of you perform in it, but you stay connected? Okay, that's great.
Yeah, but the community is much larger than what you're seeing here, and it's fluid, you know, because people coming out, when they first come out, they have plenty of time on their hands, obviously, because they haven't acquired a job yet or done other things, but then they get busy, you know, so we get some new people, then we lose some people because they start working or have to move to a different location. Then they finally got that under control, then they come back to us, when, you know, so it's fluid, but we do remain in touch as much as possible. Yeah, it's not just per cast or per production.
Right.
Like, we tried to do a little differently in the sense of having regular workshops that anybody can attend, even if they won't be performing in a production. It just as part of the fellowship, and continue developing the craft, but also for fellowship.
I just wanted to say before I pass this on that one of the things at the First Congregation was that when we got to meet everybody and talk afterwards, the thing that you don't know, I don't know, coming into it is the gentility that you all have and is present here tonight. And that's why I think this is so wonderful to like you said, you know, there's no we or us or them, it's we. And I really appreciate that you put this kind of effort into the play and give us a chance. It's really wonderful. Thank you. It's a privilege.
ditto that. And I just am curious about whether, Deborah, do you write the whole thing, or is it a collaborative effort?
I write plays, but this one was created by Gale and the cast in a collaborative effort. Gale?
I forgot to say that at the beginning. Everything you saw was improvised. I should have told you at the beginning. There was no script. I did it the other two shows, but tonight there was something about, I had to talk about the talkback, and I was having all these things in my head I had to say, and I forgot. Probably the most important thing to tell you was that we collaborated on the whole show from the beginning, finding out who the characters would be in each situation, what problems you would have when you got out of prison, what challenges you would face. So this all came from the minds and hearts of the people who performed, all right, which is, I should always say that at the beginning of the show. There is no script. There's always new lines, there's always new action, there's always mistakes, there's always answers to the mistakes, there's scrambling up here oftentimes. People bring on things. This is the second time this Zani, who is not ordinarily a Zani, comes out with a piece of paper and says, this is what you need. Right? So that's the second time, 2 out of 3. You know. Yeah, it's a bit, now it's a bit. So, and I'm always surprised to tell you the history of the show. In July, Jorge and Leonard and I started to work on the show. And we added people. Caroline came for a while and then had to go. And then Janet came, and a couple other people came and went. We wanted to do the show in September, but the population is so changeable and things are happening in everybody's life, not just mine and yours, but their lives too, that it took a while and then we didn't do it in September. I went in October, and I teach Comedia on the East Coast in October. And I came back in November. We had 5 people to work with, and that was it. We started, and we put the show together. A lot of it had, like the letter, the cookie, you know the cookie letter? All right. That was like a highlight of the creative process for me, to hear this letter for the first time. Wasn't that a great moment? It was just unbelievable. You know, and Caroline wrote that letter. I mean, it was like golden. And when she went away from the cast, kind of the heart of the play left with her, actually, because she was the heart of the play. And when she came back, that all came back. You know, yes.
So what I want to share with you is that when we began this project, Gale came to us with this beautiful art of the community of art, and it's very structured art. And what happened was he taught us his art, and then me and Jorge took the stories that we knew were inside of every man or woman that's been in prison, and we applied it to this art. And what happened was, on our opening night, we presented this show in front of a bunch of men that had been, and women that had been incarcerated before, and they were in tears. So, because the story hasn't been told. You know, all of that is real. The frustration is real. All of that is real. And so I feel very blessed to be able to not only tell our story, but also do it in such a wonderful art form. Because it's funny, it's moving.
Yeah, I have a question for Gale, being another Comedia enthusiast myself. It was great to see your use of the masks and the other little device, which people might not know about. Maybe we could get you to talk just a bit about what you and I would call the slapstick, and what at the time in the 17th century might have just been a little sidearm, something like that. Yeah.
Pass that around so people know how it's constructed.
You know, there's an interesting footnote to this thing. And for you guys, what you did was you made it into a multi-purpose tool. Even better than the Swiss Army knife. All kinds of things.
There's a couple of things you didn't see that we do with it.
Things can change. No, this is where slapstick comedy came from. All right. In Italy, it's called a decoccio, or a shuscela in southern Italy, and it can be used for. It's mainly to inflict punishment, and you have to learn how to do it so you're not really inflicting punishment. Although I think it must hurt Leonard sometimes. He likes it. So it is slapstick comedy in its true sense, and I learned the art in Italy. Antonio Fava and from Giovanni Fussetti, and then in the United States first with Carlo Mazzoni Clementi. And so it is an old art, but it's in everything that you see. Slapstick this is just the real thing. You see they call a lot of things slapstick comedy. It means physical comedy, obviously, but that's a way that we use it in many ways. And there's even more punishment there's another part of the show that didn't appear the last couple of performances, where you can go up and down the faces of two guys and make all these sounds. It's a great, so, and you can punish people in many ways. And I think it just brings out the whole thing that punishment is a part of life. Punishment is a part of being in jail. Punishment is a part of being outside jail. You're punished in many ways for things you never did.
I had this, I haven't shared this with you guys, but I had this revelation like a week ago, thinking about, this bit of Jorge's character is constantly punishing Leonard and don't say prison, don't talk about prison, like they don't want to hear about that. And I was getting ready to come to rehearsal and I was just so struck by that suddenly. And I went, oh my God, people go through this incredibly difficult experience. I mean, the only thing I could think to compare it to would be losing a family member or a dear friend and people going, yeah, that's great, but you can't talk about that, or you're really not going to be able to have any access to any of the same privileges that we do. And if you can't communicate about something that profound, how on earth can you ever hope to go on and to come back and to be able to have an us mentality? So I wanted to share that with you guys, and with you guys, just this incredible realization of
I have a question. First of all, thank you. What a great revelation of slapstick, and there's a real slapstick. Now it all makes sense. This is such an amazing program, and obviously if you're in Santa Maria, you have this limited range that you can reach out and touch someone, as they say. And I feel very blessed to have been able to witness this and be here for this. Is anybody else doing this or taking this model anywhere else? It would seem to me this should be going around the whole country.
It is my hope that someday it will be replicated statewide and even nationally. I just went to a conference on prison arts and activism in New Jersey, and I met a woman who was working with female inmates inside, and she had just started a little theater company on the outside because she found the same thing I did, that, well, then what do they do when they get out? And so that's the only other one I've heard of in this country. And now that Prop 47 has passed and AB 109 realigning inmates from prison to jail, it seems to me our money would be better spent on programs on this side, since only 2 of our people out of 87 have returned to prison. Why don't we invest on programs on this side and break that recidivism cycle? Of course, the government, it'll probably take 10 years from the time they think about it for anything to happen in that realm. So in the meantime, we rely on ticket sales, donations, and I write grants whenever I can.
I tried to start Poetic Justice Project with Deborah's permission in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I approached a lot of different restorative justice programs that are there. There's a lot of them. And everybody said, oh, well, we're already doing that. And I said, no, you're not.
And Marty, we were talking about this earlier too. Why theater? I mean, people say, okay, people are coming out of institutions. What do they need? They need housing, they need jobs, they need transportation, family reunification, substance abuse counseling. Right. However, if you get out, and Leonard can attest to this, and even working inside, you get a little bit of this, you could call it PTSD, or you could call it the kind of, ambulance drivers, people who have been in wars. You get this survivor group thing going on. And, you feel marked, you feel set aside, you feel apart from. And so we can give you a car, a job, a housing, whatever, but if you feel like you don't belong out here, that nobody wants you here, you know, you're on your way back, just believing that. I mean, one of the most common things I hear when people come out and come to us is like, I don't even want to go to Walmart because people will look at me and know I just got out. And actually, they won't know. The only people who will know are the other people who just got out, because there's this kind of radar thing. So that is what we do. Art has the power to transform people, and we create a sense of belonging with each other. You know, these guys they're going to be connected for life, but also with you, with the audience. So we make people real to one another, and that's why it works.
And I just want to add something too. Sorry. I just want to add something too. There are two groups in LA. One's the LAPD, not the cops, the LA Poverty Department, and it's a art group. It's theater. It's a lot of things, but among them is theater, and they do sometimes tell stories about folks. Prison stories of folks coming out of prison or what that's like. That's not their exclusive focus. So so they have a little bit of that, but not exclusively. And then they're also in LA. There's the what are they called? The Strindberg, like August Strindberg, the Swedish director, Strindberg Laboratory, I think it's called. And they work with people on the inside and then take their stories and then present them on the outside. But it's professional actors that present the stories. And so there are people trying, and I'm not sure who the group was in Minnesota, so I think there are people trying to do things, but not quite exactly the same way. And the difference is that there's a difference between someone from a different socioeconomic or cultural background going and talking to somebody and getting their story, but me telling that story. It's much more powerful, empowering, and healing for that person or someone of that same socioeconomic cultural background to tell the story. And I think that's part of the cultural competence that Leonard's talking about. It's much more impactful that way. And so I think that's the difference there. And so this collaboration that happened was pretty intense because we were telling our stories, but telling the stories of people that we know that are like us. And so it just gets closer to home.
Got a lot of hands up out here.
I just have a quick comment, something Leonard talked about that I think would be a rich source of material for your writer. And that is how we got to this place, this prison industrial complex, how politicians in collusion with prison guard unions and all the power and money tend to whoop up the public fears, create sentencing that puts people with mental health issues in prison for 25 to life, stealing a bicycle out of an open garage or something. I mean, it's misguided.
I'll respond to that.
Yeah.
Are you finished?
No, I think that'll be a great source of material.
I want to remind people that going to prison is not a bad thing. Like immediately, people think fear. They think bad. Martin Luther King was in prison. Who else was in prison? Nelson Mandela. Gandhi. Jesus. Okay? So I think what it is some people lack courage, and courage is not fear. It's very different. It's action in spite of your fear.
I want to thank you so much for the production, and the reality of the production is just amazing. And I really want to, we've expressed that before, but I'd just like to say it again. And the only thing wrong with the play was the happy ending. But I think probably in real life, Leonard would have been the one taken off by the police, and there just wouldn't have been, and I kept thinking, okay, when Cookie and he get together, now what are they going to do? He didn't have a job, he didn't have any money. I mean, so there's a lot of stories out there still left to be told. And the question I was going to answer, I was thinking about coming in, But I think you kind of answered it in the play, but there may be more things you want to say. And that is, what is the most difficult thing when you do get out? I mean, we can imagine a lot of when you get in, but maybe it's mostly been answered.
Too late to say something.
It's a very painful one. The hardest one for me is the family rejection and the no support whatsoever, and having to face things alone and, you know, pull your bootstraps up even though you're frightened and move forward.
You know, the happy ending is a must. Commedia dell'arte is like Romeo and Juliet with a happy ending. No one dies. So that's why. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sure.
I really thank you guys for coming, and what I wanted to share is that my grandpa was a prison chaplain, and he collected all these letters, and so because of my mom, who had to go for dinner, but she still has the letters, and she wants to make a book out of it, but it's kind of why I pulled her into this performance audience, being an audience. And then I'm on disability, so I've had to apply for all sorts of resources, and I know that I get treated like a second-class citizen all the time, you know. And so I love that the reality of performance in triplicate. That's totally accurate. It's not an exaggeration. And also just that I want to know, like, what don't I know? Like, if you could say anything, and this is to Caroline and then anyone else who wants to answer, like, what don't I know that you could say, that you feel safe enough saying?
All right. I think that a lot of us, we all have certain things that we want to get across to you guys in particular. And you know, I know that a lot of the guys have people that are still in there that they want to give them a voice. And for me, what I want people to know is how much the support matters. I got involved with them when I was 19 years old, and I was homeless, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and I was a mess. You know, I was a mess in every way, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, every single way. And what these guys did for me is they told me that they showed me how to walk a different way. I'd never had that support. You know, I had never had a place where I could walk in the door every single day and for sure I'm going to get a hug. You know, I never had a place where, you know, people came to me and told me you don't have to get high, you don't have to get drunk. You know, I've never seen anybody do it, so I didn't know how to do it myself. And I got introduced to recovery here with these guys. This is the first time I ever got introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Al-Anon. All of those programs have saved my life, and I got introduced to them by these guys. Some of these guys that are sitting right here, you know. And what I want people to know is just like those kids, those teenagers that are obviously troubled. I want you guys to know that it's actually fear. It's a lot of fear, and that they're terrified of you and of life and of themselves and everything. And I also want you guys to know that just having a group of people caring about you, want to know how your day is, what you did, you know, and what you're gonna do, that was what made me think, okay, maybe there is something in me. Like, they saw something, so maybe there is something, there is a reason for me to try to do better, because maybe I do have something to offer. And this isn't even talking about on stage, this is off stage, you know, this is in real life, like that my soul might have something to offer. And yeah, that's what I was lacking, was support and love and an example, and that's what these guys gave me.
I always say at every rehearsal, because the rehearsals are very hard, what we do off stage is much more important than what we do on stage.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say there, And then there are four, right now, the courts have readjusted the way of sending people to prisons by just saying we can't have that many people in prisons. But there are economic forces directly involved in lobbying to increase prisons. I mean, there are now private prisons. I mean, this is a business, and they're on the New York Stock Exchange, and we can buy them, and they make more money the more people are in prison, and the more prisons there are. And it's just something that we, as far as I know, we've never had until the last couple of years. But these are something that have to be contended with. And when you look at this figure, it's the highest figure per capita incarcerations, everybody up there said, of any country in the world. But there are forces that have it larger. They make more money, it's more.
So it's not just that. So you as voters, I trust most of you are very active in your communities and out there getting out the vote and whatnot. Pay attention to all the tough on crime legislation. You'll be surprised, or maybe you won't be surprised, but a lot of the legislation that would be tough on crime is written by the same folks who are developing these for-profit prisons. Yeah. Because it guarantees them they're a good business, So pay attention to that kind of legislation and get the truth out about it, and maybe we can change things around from how business is done right now.
I'm an actress, and I was just interested in your process. It's like, how much time do you guys rehearse? I'm really interested.
I joined a month ago.
Okay, so me and Jorge have been doing this for quite a few years as actors. Commedia dell'arte is not acting. It is.
Hold the mic up.
So we're actors, but Commedia dell'arte is not acting. It's an art. It is literally a physical art. And so we have practiced this probably more than any other production that we have before. But and it's very draining. But the physical aspect of it and the respect for the art kind of carries you on. It's just a beautiful art, and if you haven't, and it's an ancient art, but it's an art as opposed to acting, which is a skill. Acting has certain skills to it. This is something that I've never experienced before. The coup d'etat is that I get to tell stories about institutions. So at least 3 times a week. So yeah, it's quite a...
Just so there's no confusion, this is my 5th play with PJP. I just joined this cast a month ago.
So it depends on the actors how long they want to rehearse. It's not up to the director. I should tell you this.
Well, I should say play.
You have a concept. Yeah, we considered it. Yes, we considered it play, and doing the show is play. So it basically it was usually 2 times a week, 2 or 3 hours at a time. And then as we got closer, this month as we got closer, we added another day, kicking and screaming. But we did it. And so how much time did it take, So actually you have to take the temperature of the cast to see, have we done enough tonight? And if there were enough drooping, yes, we've done enough. And I'd always ask, could we do another scene? Sometimes, remember, we would create a whole new scene in 20 minutes. Because we have been working well together. But that's the other thing. This is a group that trusts each other. Did you see that? I mean, to improvise like that, starting with the 2 central men who have been with it since we started the week after the 4th of July. That's when we started. And we worked every week until October when I went away. And even when I was away, other theater professionals came and did workshops with the cast to keep them going, to keep them alive, Shakespeare, improv, whatever. I don't even know all the things you did. So we keep working at it and playing at it. So that's how it came about.
I'm curious, so I wanted to make a statement that what I really appreciated was the alternate realities. The way you were projecting reality in the way most of us see reality on a day-to-day basis are really two different worlds. And I think that that's, to me, that was the key of the whole play. That that you have to see there's more than one way to see the way the world is functioning.
Yeah, that's really important.
There's one thing I want to share about that and seeing the world. The situation appears perilous. Like there's no hope. I came to the conclusion that we are not going to dismantle the prison industrial complex. We're just not going to do it, at least not in the near future. But what we can do is we can empower the individuals that are caught up inside of it. So this is about an individual empowerment process. The greatest gift that I've gotten out of this whole process is Janet. See, she's the miracle. She has no idea what has happened to her. She will never be the same. And that's what happens. And when people come and they stay for it, that's why we have such a high recidivism rate. The work is grueling. So a lot of people don't make it to every production. But everyone who makes it to a production is transformed, and they don't even know it. They have no idea. I'll share a revelation I had. One day I was watching the History Channel, and they were talking about the actors in Rome. And everyone knows that in Rome, a Roman is a Roman. If you're not a Roman, you're not a Roman. That's it. You're a slave or whatever. Except for one group of people, and it was the actors and the gladiators. And they immediately were raised to the top ranks of the hierarchy, which was something that was impossible to do. And that's kind of true here. You take a person who has this super, super low self-esteem, and you bring him here, and you embrace us, and you applaud us, it does something to us, and we can never go back to that place again. And so getting you here is tough. It's like, oh, I can't do that. No. But once we get you here, we can never be the same. So that's the beauty of this.
I think, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful talk back, and you were very generous during our performance. We really appreciate you coming. And unless there's another question, I think we should wrap it up and let people get going.
I just want to say that I was one of the ignorant ones. I was really afraid of people that were in jail. And I'm really sorry. And this has changed my life. Thank you so much. And I hope that you can market this to decision makers and employers.